sitting here in Donnelly's in Barna. A couple of days just before Christmas. Not a very nice day outside. Galway Bay. I was looking at it just before we came in. It looks kind of cold out there. But we're in a lovely little warm snug here in Donnelly's. And Jake is with me, Jake Anchell. And Jake, you're very welcome and thanks for joining us. Listen, Jake, we're here and we're in Barna, but you're not a Galway man originally. You're from Tip, aren't you?
I'm from Tipperary, yeah. I grew up in Tipperary up until college age, and I headed off to Dublin then for more or less another 20 years. And I moved over to Galway 6 years ago, bought the house in Barna about 4 years ago, so yeah.
And what brought you down to God's country?
we still, even 6 years after we moved here, we still don't have a good answer to that question, really. We'd had enough of Dublin. We were buying houses and all that crack, and said, geez, what are we doing looking at tiny little houses in the outskirts of Dublin. Right. We never really wanted to be here. What are we doing still here? So we decided to get out of Dublin, and it was kind of a process of elimination there. From there, we weren't ready to move to the pure countryside out where you're from, say, or back home. So we went through the cities, and Galway is where we landed on. So yeah,
that's great, lovely part of the world, and I know it well. So listen, I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you.
So listen, we have you on here, and I know chatting to your dad. Your dad is very keen fly fisherman, and it's through him that you went on your recent trip. But just like to say, I mean, I know the last count with your dad, his species count on the fly was 112. So where do you come on that?
I'm not quite at the same level now. I'm not. I'm probably not the most experienced fisherman you've ever had on the podcast. I've always done a bit of fishing, heading down to the shore with bubble floats and that when I was younger, and we did a bit of coarse fishing then when I was younger as well, with my father and my brothers and that. And then when my father got kind of back into fly fishing, I suppose, I don't know, 25 years ago maybe, and he started doing these exotic trips. And the odd time I was lucky enough, or my brothers were lucky enough to be asked if we'd like to tag along. So I started joining. So most of my fishing, and certainly in the second half of my life as it is so far, has been off on these exotic trips. So we've done Brazil, we've done Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, and this last trip then was off to Bhutan. So in terms of species, I'm probably unusual for your guests in I've never caught a trout on fly. I tried for a salmon on fly and I didn't catch one, but I've caught bonefish, barracuda, Mahseer now that we'll get into, but all these
you
sort of...
You probably have a better species count than me. I was just thinking before, what's my species count? And I'm actually in single figures, so...
Well, I'd say I'm still in single figures, but they're different fish to what you have, yeah.
We won't start counting out here now, we might get thrown out of the pub. So listen, and when you're talking about exotic there, I mean, this is one of the reasons we have you on. I mean, I want to start Bhutan. I mean, Mahseer and Bhutan both fascinate me. I suppose we'll start with Bhutan. So your dad came up with the idea to go fishing Mahseer, and then Bhutan came up.
Yeah, I think so. So essentially, my father, he's always looking for the next interesting trip to go on. I think Bhutan was in his head anyway, but he read an article then, I can't remember what it was in, The Independent or something, about a guy who did this trip. So he got more interested in it and looked into it a bit deeper. And I suppose, like you're saying, even if you're not fishing, Bhutan is a fascinating place to go to. It's only really opening up to tourism and to business in the wider world since the 70s, which sounds like a long time ago now, but it's
That's true. Apparently it was closed off, isn't it?
It was pretty much closed off, I think, up until around about the 70s. I don't know exactly when. But no tourism, no. Very, very limited interaction with the wider world,
and even now they're not like really opening the doors that much, are they?
No, they. I mean, Bhutan is constitutionally set up to be eco-friendly and to be sustainable and to look after its land and its forests and its mountains. It's constitutionally mandated to maintain 60% forest cover at all times. At the moment, the guys out there are saying to it, it's about 70% forest cover at the moment.
Wow.
So everywhere you go is forest. The mountains, it's pretty much in the Himalayas. It goes from a height of about 8,000 meters.
Yeah.
And then once you get to the far south, you're nearly at sea level, but it's basically all mountains, and the mountains are viewed as the homes of gods. So mountain climbing is
interesting because I actually looked up on that beforehand, and it has the highest unclimbed peak in the world.
In the world, yeah.
And they let mountaineers in, and then they stopped it, and they've stopped it totally now, and it's to do with mountains being homes of the spirits and gods.
Yeah, and it's an area that should be viewed and respected, and you can travel between them and walk on the mountains, but there's no mountaineering licenses issued. So the highest mountain in the world. There were attempts to climb it apparently before they closed it off.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And obviously it's a tricky mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Nobody succeeded, and it's entirely possible that nobody will ever succeed because it's banned. So
it's amazing. So they seem to have a real grasp of their environment and what they have. Their heritage.
Absolutely, yeah. It is, and you see it, in the people in everyday life, that everybody is concerned with the environment and concerned with looking after what they have, rivers, mountains, the woods, etc.
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Was that noticeable? Gee.
It's noticeable, yeah. And the other interesting and related thing is that Bhutan measures itself on a concept called gross national happiness. So and that again is constitutionally baked in. So every law, every significant law they're going through gets measured against, I think it's 4 pillars and 9 columns of this gross national happiness, which ties in sustainability and consideration for their religion, which is important to them, etc., etc. But overall aiming for gross national happiness rather than gross national product. Yeah.
Wow.
And the people are all bought into that and all bought into the way that the country is governed and led. It's a constitutional monarchy now, so that the king has a lot of say and a lot of power, but they all love him and respect him and are bought into what he's trying to achieve. Yeah.
And what's the religion actually?
Mainly Buddhist. Predominantly Buddhist. They have a mix of religions. They have some Islam and some Christianity and that as well, but the majority of people will be Buddhist. Yeah.
Oh, sounds fascinating. And as I said, that's just the country. Now we can go on to the fish, Mahseer.
The fish, the golden Mahseer. So the golden Mahseer is a cyprinid. It's quite rare. It kind of only lives in fast-flowing Himalayan rivers, really. So you find it in Bhutan, obviously, but also in Pakistan, India, and Nepal. They get big. Get up to 100 pounds apparently. We didn't see any of them, but
it wasn't from the want to try.
Wasn't from the want to trying, no. And there's a couple of subspecies. There's two main subspecies, which is the golden Mahseer and then the chocolate Mahseer. So we saw both of them.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
We did.
And are they noticeably different?
They're a similar fish, obviously, but the golden Mahseer gets its name because it has a very striking yellow, actually bordering on going towards gold colour to it. So,
and is the chocolate one darker?
The chocolate one is kind of a darker, brown kind of colour.
What I'm saying is, let's say you'd have been there and weren't too sure about the two different species, could you mix them up?
I suppose you could, and the guides even said, sometimes you catch a golden that's a bit, and I don't know, do they interbreed at times or what, but sometimes you catch a golden that looks a bit like a chocolate, or a chocolate that looks a bit like a golden, but certainly if you catch, and we did catch golden ones, and you would see the difference in colouring, and it's not just the colouring, but the colouring is the most obvious thing that will give you the difference. And
is there a size difference?
There is, it's the goldens that get up to that massive size. Now the chocolates get big as well. I couldn't tell you what they get up to, but not to the same scale. So in general, the goldens are the bigger, stronger fish. And you see them in the guides, when you're walking up on a riverbank, and sometimes they'd be in little pools just off the flat flow, and wherever have taken a break, chilling out, and they'd be able to pinpoint for you from the top of a cliff 50 yards away. Oh, that one's there is gold.
So they'd be actually sighting them.
Yeah, they're sighting them.
Come here. I know this from first time I was in New Zealand. I couldn't see the fish for the first couple of weeks. And the guy that was with could spot them straight away.
Yeah.
Was it the same with you? Or
It
are
was.
they quite evident?
I mean, it varies. You know, so when I was talking about them spotting them there, that's when we're not necessarily fishing, but looking where we might go fishing,
Yeah.
and you might be up at the top of a cliff and you're looking down into beautifully clear Himalayan water. It's down into this pool where they're swimming around, so you can spot them quite easily there. In that scenario, when you're down on the bank and you might be in the water, right at the edge of the water, and you're only 6 feet
It's
above
just,
it.
like, naturally, it's just harder to see things.
And they're at that point in fast flowing water. I would have found it very challenging to see it, and you know, I've experienced it on other trips where the guide's going there, and I go, what are you talking about? You know, he just casts the line where you think he's pointing, and
you kind of wing it.
yeah.
I've done that.
So now my father David, he'd have been a step ahead of me. He does a lot of fishing, so he's more used to sighting fishing. He does a lot of sight fishing, so he'd see them better than I did, and at times you'd see them, you know, even in the faster flowing water, and that you'd catch a glimmer and go, oh, there it is, but you lose it again immediately. But
right. So here, listen, just before we go too much into the fishing, just getting there and the logistics involved, and when you got there, what it was like, because you've been on a couple of trips, so in comparison to other guided trips. So first of all, getting there.
So in terms of the logistics beforehand, you know, you have to apply for visas and all that. Again, you know, like you do with a lot of these places, I guess, which was a little tricky, but it was grand. You know, they rejected photos that we sent in, and we sent through different photos, and it was grand. The flights weren't too bad. We flew out Dublin to Dubai, and then there was a direct flight Dubai to Paro, which is the only international airport as it stands in Bhutan. So a handy enough flight. Come back, then we did Paro to Delhi and to Abu Dhabi and then home. Right. So again, you know, not the end of the world. What were we saying next? Once you got there,
what did you that international airport, is that in the capital?
It's not the capital. So Paro is kind of it's one of the main tourist towns. Right, okay. Now, tourism is one of their biggest industries, but it's by most standards, it's not a touristy country. You don't see.
You charge. Is it $100 a day?
Yeah, it's a
just
significant.
To be a tourist town.
Yeah, so they call it a sustainable development fee. Yeah. So again, it ties back to the looking after the environment and the gross national happiness and all that. Yeah. They're rightly so, I suppose, raising money off the back of tourists coming in to help look after the environment and the country in general. Yeah, so $100 is sustainable development fee.
So you get to the airport.
So we got into Paro. Yeah. Now we funny thing, we because of our flight schedule, we got there 2 days, I think, before our scheduled trip started, if you like. So we were there on our own for a couple of days, and before we got there, we'd been asked a number of times, you need a guide for those days, and we said, no, we'll be grand, we'll tip down to the town and we'll find somewhere to eat and it'll be fine. And before we got there, people were like, Jesus, you're going without a guide. And while we were there, every shop we went into and every restaurant we went into, they said, where's your guide? So it just doesn't seem to happen that people explore the country, if you like, without guiding. And you see the guides, and the guides aren't the only ones, but the guides wear the traditional Bhutanese dress, sort of a long coat, kind of robe coat kind of affair, baggy trousers under it, and you see them everywhere. Anytime you see tourists, there'll be a guide shortly after them. Yeah.
So you bucked the trend.
We booked the trend, yeah. So we got there. We didn't interest in we got there, and say the first day we got there during lunchtime-ish, and we just took it easy in the hotel. Yeah. And the next day, then we went down to the local village. We thought we were going into Paro, but as it turned out, it was just a small village that's 10 kilometres away from Paro. And we headed down, and we said, sure, look, we'll try this restaurant. And we wandered into the restaurant, and these restaurants, and they're everywhere, but they're just like people built on little bits or converted rooms or whatever, and people lived there. So it's this woman's house. We wandered in, and this woman's sitting there, and we said, we want some food. And she asked us what we want, and we said, just traditional Bhutanese food, whatever it was. She said, grand, I have to go to the shops. Are you okay there for a while? And I said, have you beer? And she gave us out a couple of beers, and she headed off to the shops to buy some food, and came back and took an hour or two to cook it and gave it to us.
So it wasn't
and while we were
exactly
there,
off a menu or something out there.
well, I don't know if we even asked her if she had a menu, and most of them they do have a menu, but we just said, cook us what you fancy, basically. We'd looked up a few bits, so we were able to say we want to try this and we want to try that, but pretty much we left her to it, and she cooked us 5 or 6 dishes and we shared it. And,
it was nice.
It was lovely, yeah. The food is interesting, so they're...
Is there meat?
Yeah. I was worried about that before going, and Jesus, we're going to have vegetarian stuff the whole time. But no, they eat a lot of meat. They eat beef, they eat yak. They have a lot of yak over there, and then goat and things like that as well, and chicken. So yeah, there was meat. Their national dish is called emadatsi, I think it's called, which just basically means cheese and chili. So
chili?
Cheese and chili, yeah.
Right, okay.
So every meal you have, if you have traditional Bhutanese food, you'll get a bowl of this emadatsi cheese and chili anyway. So it's just chilies with this kind of yak's cheese, I think it is, obviously a soft cheese, and they melt it in and it becomes a kind of a sauce. And everything else, pretty much everything else you get has some chili in it. Now, nothing was crazy spicy. I'd say they tone it down when they see the tourists and that. But everything has
when
a bit of chili.
When you're not wearing long flowing robes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you get your emadatsi, and then you get beef and chili, and you get chicken and chili, and you get lamb and chili or whatever it might be, and it was all very nice. But to be honest, we're there 2 weeks. By the end of the 2 weeks, you're going, oh, it's beef and chili again. But it's very nice. We very much enjoyed it. Certainly in the early days.
It was nice to get that 2 days before you.
It was, yeah.
Just that was nice. I mean, sometimes when you're on a trip, you're straight into fishing, and you're straight out, and you don't get to experience. You definitely got first-hand experience of normal life.
Normal life, yeah. We did. We had a couple of days looking around, and Then the first day of the trip, actually, we were still in Paro, and we went and did. You might have seen it in your research. It's called the Tiger's Nest Monastery. I went and did it. So it's a beautiful monastery perched up on basically a cliff face up in the mountains outside Paro, and the only way to get to it is to hike up to it. And so I did that as well in the early days before we set off on the fishing itself, if you like. Yeah.
Oh, that was class. That was really good. So you had your couple of days there. Then what happened? Did you have to take a flight or a bus journey internally? Yeah,
the travel around Paro or around Bhutan was interesting. So
can I just say here that as soon as I asked that question, a big smile came out in Jake's face. this like it mightn't be what we sort of considered nice, easy travelling here, was it?
It wasn't. No. So to get to, we did 2 fishing stints in 2 different locations. Okay, So to get to our first one, we flew from Paro to a place called Bhutan. On the flight, we stopped off on the plane, and myself and my father were sitting on the plane waiting to keep going, and the pilot came down to us and said, "Do you want to get out and have a look around?" So we got off and were wandering around this runway in a place called Yongpula, I think it was, for a few minutes, and got back on and flew to Bhutan. And then from there it was about a 6-7 hour drive down to Manas is where we were heading at that stage, to start our fishing. The roads in Bhutan are not necessarily the best. So even, it's because you're in the Himalayas the whole time, so everything is mountainous, and they have a lot of landslides. And we were there not long after the monsoon season, so they had a lot of rain and
and there was landslides evident.
So even, it wasn't on that particular point of the journey, but when we were coming back, the road between Paro and Thimphu, which is the capital, so this is basically the biggest road they have in the country, which is only a single lane, both ways road, good quality road, but even that road has rocks in the middle of the road. I'm not kidding, every 20-50 meters or so there's evidence of landslides on even that road. Driving down to Bhutan, from Bhutan to Manas, and most of the driving we did, you're on little tiny
tracks,
mountain roads,
and travelling jeeps.
So I mean, look, it was fine, but it's you want to be prepared for long old treks on windy mountainous roads with drivers swerving to avoid rocks every 5 minutes and.
It's like a Sparta Spittle Road.
Maybe like it used to be 50 years ago.
Yeah, years back. Not like that now. So you got to, was it
Manus was the Manas. Manus River Lodge was the place we.
Oh, so it was a
were
lodge
fishing,
now.
yeah.
And you're fishing on rivers. Are you based in the lodge, or are you doing drift fishing, or what are you doing?
So that first that we did in Manus, we were based in the lodge, and we headed out from the lodge every day fishing.
And would you go by jeep or?
Yeah, by jeep. The first day we did, we were on raft for that day. So we drove up the river a little bit, took the raft, and basically used the raft, fishing a little bit on the raft, but still in Manus most of our fishing was from the bank. So
what you do on the raft is the raft might go down, they will pull it in, the guides will pull it in,
and
you would fish that spot
fish a beach, say, or whatever
right.
maybe, stationary, walking a beach, say, fishing spots.
So the raft was really mode of transport rather than fishing.
In Manus now, once we did the second trip, which I suppose we'll get on to, that was not all, but that was much more raft fishing. So, and
then you had guides with you.
We had guides with us.
How were the guides?
The guides were varied again, I suppose. I mean, look, for starters, they were all excellent, but they varied in their fishing knowledge.
That's what I was going to ask you. So,
In Manus, we went with a very well-known guide over there called Jingyi, I think his name is.
Yeah.
So if anybody looks at any fly fishing videos of Bhutan, you'll probably come across Jingyi. He features in them. And he was very knowledgeable and very good and an excellent fisherman in his own right. I don't think he has the record. There's another guy that has the record for the largest gold Mahseer in Bhutan, but he's chasing it. They're competing for it. Exactly. So he was very knowledgeable and very helpful. I suppose we haven't mentioned yet, but everybody in Bhutan has fantastic English.
I should ask you that. Did they? Yeah.
So he had fantastic English. I say everybody. Everybody under a certain age. The school system now, they actually teach kids from day dot basically through English. So the younger generation have fantastic English. But Jimmy, was very knowledgeable. Guide, very eager to help you, very keen for you to catch fish.
What age block is he?
He's, I don't know, in around 40s, I'd say. 40s, maybe 50. Yeah.
just thinking about myself, the age of the guides here. But anyway, so when you pull in there, now, was it fly fishing all the time? Or did you do it? Because traditionally, I've looked up a bit of Mahseer, like years back, it was a lot of spin fishing for them. And fly fishing has only seemed to come into it in the last 30 years. So
all we did was fly fishing?
Yeah.
I'd imagine, I know actually, Jigney, I think, said it to me that they would have some guests where they would do a bit of spinning, but look, I suppose I follow my father's lead to a certain extent. He's a fly fisherman now, and he wouldn't dream of doing spinning for that kind of fish.
He's not doing it for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the fishing aspect, the casting and the skill of that is part of it for him, I suppose, and I suppose it's part of it for me as well, and I enjoy that side of it as well. Yeah, but you can spin for them. Yeah.
So your first day there, you set off, you got on the raft. Was it what do I do? Or you were getting guidance from the guide, no doubt, but how did it go the first day?
The first day, there's another interesting part to this, which is that my father, on those first few days, came down with an illness which wrote him off kind of halfway. He did the first half of that first day, and then after that, he couldn't do any more fishing in Manus at all. So, So that's an aspect of those first few days, as I was out fishing pretty much on my own, which probably helped in some ways. But,
no dad looking over your shoulder.
No dad looking over your shoulder. Yeah, and I had the guys 100% focused on me and helping me all the time. True, so it was great. Not that it helped me catch too many fish on that section, but the first day we didn't catch any fish. And to answer your first question, I suppose, look, like I said, I'm not someone who's out fishing every day of the week, so I was conscious, at least, let's say, or worried about how my casting would go, etc. But I kind of settled into it okay. The conditions aren't that bad for most of the fishing that you're doing there, and that you're on, generally in that spell we were on a nice bank with plenty of room behind you. Wasn't too windy, nice weather is the other thing we haven't mentioned there. So it wasn't too bad from that regard in terms of the ease of casting, if you like. There were obviously parts where you're kind of wading through the river and you've the bank behind you, and you get caught in trees every second cast, and all that kind
goes with the territory, I suppose, going fishing.
I was pleased, and my father was very congratulatory of how my casting went once I got there. I had a few lessons with Andrew Ryan below, and
you went to Andrew and took a which is always great, because if you're going to to be honest, sometimes casting can decent casting can make or break. A few things. I mean, as you said, like bone fishing as well. Sometimes, on the flats, it does have. So that was a good move. What outfits were you using? What weight were they?
They were. Let me write about this. 8-weight rods.
8-weight. Yeah. And were they all floating lines, or you sink tips?
We mainly use. So the guides kind of said. Jim mainly said you can use floating, intermediate, or sinking lines, depending on exactly how you're going about it. But we mainly ended up using intermediate and mainly intermediate lines. I think a bit of floating lines, but mainly intermediate lines. There's an interesting story in terms of flies, which applied more to our second stint, which I know we haven't got onto yet, but before we went out, you get this info sheet of here's what you should bring in terms of everything from clothes, equipment, etc., all the way down to fishing tackle. And we got this info, but large parts of it were incomplete, let's say, or unclear in general, but particularly around the flies you should bring was very unclear. And I think my father was away fishing with yourself and Dara on Corrib in September, kind of just a couple of months before.
And read out said list.
Read out the list to you, did he? Okay, right, So he was confused about what flies should he take, what flies shouldn't he take, and we ended up taking a bundle. But in particular, you yourself and Dara recommended to him the articulated streamers that Keith MacDonald makes in impact fly fishing. So
Keith, friend of our show.
All right, very good. So we brought them along. I don't think we used them in Manus, but when we got onto the second stint, we showed them to the guides, and the guide said, no, they're no good. No, we don't want them. But we persuaded them. I can't remember how exactly. We persuaded them to throw one on at one stage, and we caught fish with it. And the second stint was 5 days of fishing. By the end of those 5 days, they would refuse pretty much to use any other fly other than the articulated flies. You'd have a fly on, I'd have a fly reel in, and I'd have a look at my fly and go, jeez, I've battered that off rocks for the last 4 hours, and I'd had a little bit of a nibble here and there, and the thing's half fallen apart, and show it to the guide and say, do you think I should change this? And he'd look through what flies I have, and if I didn't have another articulated fly, he'd say, no, keep that on.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's great, actually. Yeah, because I remember we had the discussion, we're in the boat together.
Yeah.
We were discussing it, and we just thought, because Keith does a lot of that. Does a lot of the streamer fishing and swears by the articulated flies. I had a couple of them. It's a thing I tend to do on Corrib more. That's another story. But so that's brilliant.
It worked really well, and I know my father has been on to Keith, and he's got another batch of them since he came home again. And
great, brilliant. No, that's great. Gee, we did something good. And Keith especially did something good. So, your first fish then, you didn't get one the first day?
Didn't get one the first day in Manus. Then in Manus, I actually we did 3 days. I did 3 days fishing. My father did a half day fishing, and I only caught one fish there. But I caught one golden Mahseer, a small, 3 or 4 pound or something, golden Mahseer. But it was great to get it. I think we'll talk about the second part of the trip later. But I think on that first part of the trip, Jimmy is very focused on trying to catch a big golden Mahseer, if you like. So, which is nice, and it's what a lot of people who do that trip are there for, is to catch a 20, 30, 40 pound golden Mahseer. So that's what he was focusing on. So I think the style of fishing didn't lend itself to catching a lot of fish easily.
It was more quantity, not quality.
Quality.
He was quality, not quantity.
Yes, exactly. So those first 3 days, I caught one golden Mahseer.
Which is great. Duck broken.
To be exactly, and to be honest, before I was going out, and even my father was saying, we might go, and we didn't know the detail, but we might go, we might fish for 8 days and not catch any fish at all, because we just didn't know. We knew that they were difficult to catch.
Yeah.
On the second stint, I may as well start talking about it. Then we did. It kind of.
Did you do me on the second stint? Then?
No, so the second stint was. I won't go into the detail, but a long track back to Bhutan, back to Paro, and then a long trek down to Sunkosh.
Was it a different river even?
A different river, different river. Not. If you're looking on a map, it doesn't look like it's that far away. But it was a long way to get back around to where it was. So another.
Father Dougal and the cows in the field.
Yeah, but both of the sections we fished, say, were getting towards the Indian border, and on our second stint we raft floated down for 5 days, about 100 kilometres, and by the end of that we were about 2 kilometres apparently from the Indian border, so we kind of had to turn around and go back because
you were running out of Bhutan.
We were running out of Bhutan, exactly, yeah. But that second section then was much more. 90% of the time we were fishing from the rafts.
Okay. And would it be like? Sorry, no, but would it be like? Would the guides hold the raft straight in the water for you to cast, or would they just let it drift and you'd be casting?
A bit of a mixture. Most of it we were drifting down. At the odd time, you get to a likely looking pool in the side, and he'd hold you in there maybe for 5 or 10 minutes while you cast all around the edge of it, and then you go out and you're drifting down again. And so the fishing there was much more different. We're drifting down along generally beside the steep bank, if you like, where the mountain is coming down,
casting into
and it casts into the edge, the rock face of the bank, if you like, not bank, but the rock face. I'd say it took us a few days to learn and to understand what they were looking for, but it was nice fishing and not too challenging fishing, because you're floating maybe 10 feet away from the bank and you just cast into the bank. Maybe
I know, like the other bit, you didn't have to worry about your back cast.
You didn't have to worry about your back cast, but you cast into the bank. You might do a strip or two, or more often than not, even just jig the fly a little bit and pick it up and cast down again.
Right.
And that worked very, very well for chocolate Mahseers. We caught a couple of gold Mahseers on that stint as well, using that technique, but the chocolate Mahseers were a lot more plentiful, a lot more keen to take the fly, or whatever it was. And quite often they actually took the fly, pretty much as it hit the water, or very soon afterwards. One of the guides actually said to us that they come up for monkey shit, basically. So monkey poops into the water, and the Mahseer comes up and grabs it. So that was the main technique, if you like, on that second stint, was drifting along, pop it into the water, jig once or twice, or strip once or twice, lift up and cast down again. So very active, and it was a nice way to fish. And,
So, but it was the second stint then was more successful for fish. So you got a couple of golden Mahseers there?
We caught between us, I think we caught 4 or 5 golden Mahseers, but we caught 30 plus chocolate Mahseers there.
Brilliant. That's nice, because alright, you achieved the golden Mahseer, but there was something else in the background to keep you going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you know straight away the difference between them? Did the guides know?
The guides would often be able to say to you quite quickly, that's a golden or it's a chocolate.
Right.
They'd be wrong sometimes, of course.
Yeah. Not like here in Ireland where the guides are always right.
Absolutely. But you'd notice the difference when you catch a golden. So, look, overall we caught fish up to maybe 8 pounds. So, a 6 pound chocolate, you might get the same fight out of a 4 pound golden. Let's put it that way.
So the golden
are stronger.
It's one of the reasons why they're more
more sought after.
More sought after. They do fight better.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And how do they fight? Are they dogged? They don't jump, do they?
They don't jump. No. So they run, and they tend to go deep and run. Then
And what's the take like? Is it vicious?
It's a strong take. You don't have to do much to set the hook as such. They nearly do it for you.
You just hold on.
They take and they turn, and They realise there's a hook in and they sprint down and
Class.
Gone from you. Yeah.
With the articulated fly in their mouth.
With the articulated fly in their mouth. Yeah.
Actually, just wanted to ask you, and I meant to ask you. Naturally, I presume you're not keeping them. Do the Bhutanese? Do they eat them, or were they ever commercial fish then?
I don't think they were commercial fish, but they do eat them. They're not allowed to.
Okay.
they're a very good eating fish. Obviously, we didn't eat any. Everything we did obviously was catch and release. You weren't allowed to. That's the other thing we didn't mention. You weren't allowed to fish for golden Mahseer up until even more recently. I don't know the exact date, but the only people that were allowed to fish for golden Mahseer in the past was the Bhutanese royal family.
I think I remember
hearing
that. Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is that the golden Mahseer is actually one of the auspicious signs of Buddhism. So Buddhism has these 8 auspicious signs, and one of them is the golden fish, which is the golden Mahseer. So it's a holy fish and protected partly for that reason. Now, people obviously do fish for it. You get it anywhere. We met a couple of people who told them we were going fishing for golden Mahseer, and they said, "Oh, delicious!" No, that's not what we're doing.
I meant to say that.
Yeah, exactly. And when we were doing the float fishing, we came across. We floated 100 kilometres. 3 times, I think we pulled up poaching lines.
Oh, did you?
So, it does happen, but not much. And yeah.
Oh, well, did you actually drift 100 kilometres?
About 100 kilometres. I don't have the exact measurements, but about 100 kilometres. Over 5 days. And
how did you do? So obviously, were all the supplies there, or were there stations that you stopped at?
No, all the supplies were there. It was an amazing setup. So on that trip we had a raft each that we were fishing from.
Okay.
We had a support raft, and on that support raft, or some of it might have been on our rafts, but we had 2 tents for ourselves. We had a dining room tent, if you like, that they set up for us every evening with 2 chairs that they brought for us. There was a toilet tent, which we told them not to bother setting up after the first day because, what's the difference? And they had a kitchen tent with a full kitchen set up. So we had 2 guides, we had 2 other kind of sporty guys, we had 3 chefs, one chef and 2 teenagers that were kind of helping them out, if you like. And then we also had a kayak support for safety reasons. For some of the waters we were on, significant rapids and
Are you serious,
challenging waters.
Was there any time that you were sort of going,
no, so they don't. They won't take you down the bad rapids. There was only one section.
Grade 5.
Yeah, exactly. There was only one section where they said you have to get out of the raft here and go with our guide Sonam. He'll bring you down, and we'll work the rafts then. And I swear to God, they spent an hour and a half, I'd say, looking at this set of rapids from every angle that they could to figure out which way they were going to take it down. And we happened to be standing on a sort of an island, if you like, in the middle of the river with a small stream flowing down the far side. And I literally just said to my father, I said, Jesus, I know we're not that close to it, but I'd say if we went over to that stream, you could get down it. And 2 minutes later, I got a radio message that after the hour and a half looking at the rapids, they were going to go down the stream, the far side. So, I mean, look, so when the rapids are bad, they offload you and you walk down the bank and meet them the far side.
But
there was stretches of water we were on where, you'd want to be holding on, let's put it that way.
You've some entourage with you.
Some entourage, Oh, it's amazing.
How many lads in total?
We had, I think there was 9.
Wow. 9, and it was just the 2 of you? There wasn't anybody else?
Just the 2 of us, with those 9 guys, So, I mean, amazing setup. And to be honest, the deference that you're treated with at times can be a bit much.
Yeah.
But that was more the case in Manas. In the lodge, there was 12 staff, I think, and it was only myself and my father staying there. Yeah. So you couldn't pick up a can of beer to pour a bit more in. You'd have 2 people running over to you and taking it off you and pouring it for you and all this. So it was a bit much. Lovely, obviously, and it's very privileged to say that we were looked after too well, if you like.
Yeah.
Unbelievable staff in terms of how they look after you. And particularly on the second stint, things relax and they learn quite quickly that these are a couple of nice Irish lads and not people from other nationalities that might be a bit more standoffish and a bit more demanding, etc. Yeah, so certainly by the end of the trip to the Manas, look, I was playing Bhutanese darts and Bhutanese archery with the staff and all that kind of jazz. And on the second trip, floating down with the lads, we'd sit around with them and have a few beers in the evening. My father smokes a cigar, and they all got mad into getting cigars off him and smoking them with him and that. Like, so, we were all buddies by the end of it.
Good.
Right old entourage looking after us.
Good. So back to the fishing. I'm just saying. So you had a nice number of fish, including the chocolate. Was there much action? Would you follows? Would you bumps? Or
you would, yeah. You'd get. I'd say we missed more fishing than we caught.
So so you're not just waiting for that one hit and then it's going to say you've been missed. And would the guides ever sort of go, you might have been a bit quicker on that one or anything? I know some guides.
Some guides, yeah. I've found this with other fishing guides. They tell you one thing, and then you do that thing, and then they say, no, you should have done this. I'm like, you just told me 5 minutes ago to do what I just said. I know, but that's different now that we're here. And
you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change mid-sentence.
But look, I mean, no, they weren't critical or harsh or whatever. They were, at the end of the day, they were certainly all very good in terms of they wanted us to catch fish. So any criticism they were giving you was with that in mind. Constructive criticism. Yeah.
But so then, how did they go? How long? Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, what time of the year were you there? It was November.
Yeah, late October. The second last 2 weeks of October, basically.
And what was the weather like?
Home. The weather, 90% of the time was lovely, as in actually lovely. It was 20 degrees plus most of the time during the day. Sunny, still calm, nice crisp days. We had, I suppose, some of the places we were passing through, we were actually quite high up in the Himalayas, so it's a good deal colder, especially at night time. And then just right at the very end, sort of our last day of fishing, and when we were packing up the camp and our last day then back at the capital, they were getting the tail end of a monsoon that was coming up through the Indian Bay, so it lashed rain for those couple of days, which added a bit to the drive back from the second fishing stop. We nearly lost the jeep at one stage. We were stuck in a stream, and luckily we were stuck in a stream quite near a building site, and the guys managed to persuade a couple of lads to come and give us a push and get us out of it. So
that sounds like here.
The recommended time to go is sort of October, November. The temperature is still nice, and it's generally after the monsoon season.
Right. And are you fishing in shirt sleeves?
Yeah, shirt sleeves and shorts. Absolutely. Yeah.
The length of the day then? So you get up at the camp. What time you fish?
Get up. It wasn't hectic. We get up. You're sleeping in tents on the side of the river on that second part of the fish, so you wouldn't be lying in anyway because you'd be awake. But say you get up 7 or 8 maybe and have a nice leisurely breakfast, and we might head off, get onto the boats for 9 o'clock or so. We'd usually do a long stint there, then maybe have lunch 12:30 and 12:30 to 1:30 kind of thing. Pack up somewhere. Lads, get out the kitchen and make your lunch for you.
Tent is erected.
Absolutely. Lunch was often a sandwich or whatever it was, but you might stop for half an hour or an hour and go back fishing then for a couple of hours. We'd usually finish up 3, maybe latest 4 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
And what time did it get dark there?
It got dark early enough. I suppose maybe similar to Ireland. I can't really remember. 6 or 7, something like that. So we'd finish up the fishing, and once we're finished up the fishing, the lads would have gone on ahead, and they'd have the tents and the dining tent and the kitchen all set up, and they'd have started cooking. We'd get there. They might give us a bit of a snack or a beer or whatever. Have a nice dinner. chill out for an hour or two, and an early night, and back to it then the next day. So
sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So, like, and it's always kind of hard to convey this across, but the scenery. I mean, what was it like? I mean, you started in places that were up near the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
So was that what you'd expect? Like, could you see snow-capped mountains in the distance?
We did, yeah. On the flight in from Dubai, the pilot came on at one stage and said, "Okay, if you look out your left-hand window, you can see Mount Everest."
Could
so
you?
we flew past Everest and all that, and when we're landing up Paro, Thimphu, Bhutan are quite high up in the Himalayas, not in snow yourselves, but certainly. The vista, if you look up, is the stereotypical snow-capped Himalayas. The scenery then for most of where we were, I suppose, was it's all mountainous. You're in mountains pretty much all the time. By the time we got down to the very bottom, you're in foothills, I suppose, that kind of thing.
So it's still mountainous.
Still quite mountainous. Yeah,
like it's not flat prairie land or anything.
No, they reckon about 5% of the country is flat or something like that, and we got down nearly to there, if you like. So we're just coming towards the end of the mountains, but for most of our trip we were up in heavily forested, heavily wooded mountains, floating down a river in the complete wilderness. Amazing wildlife, and that, of course, they have we saw. We have this white-crested heron, which is a very, very rare bird. So we saw a good few of those. But we saw monkeys. There was one day we were there, and I looked across. We were sort of camped across from a tributary, and I looked across and I saw these two animals sort of pretty much running down the tributary. And I was just with my father at the time. I said, "Jesus, what are they?" And we couldn't make out what they were. And eventually, one of them came fully down the tributary and into the river, and by this stage I'd gone over to the guys and said, what are these? And they said, "Oh, they're deer. So they have these little small deer, and this deer that had got in swam down and across the river. It took him maybe 200 yards to get across to the shore that we're on, and the lads ran up to try to see what it was and eventually to look after it. So it turned out, and in the meantime we looked across, and the other animal was a fox, but a large fox. So it was a small deer and a large fox that when I saw them first looked like they were the same animal, and I thought they were playing, but it was the fox was far from playing. The fox was trying to take the deer, so that was an interesting episode. We saw a good few monkeys. They have elephants and all sorts. We didn't actually see any elephants out in the wild. We saw elephant dung and footprints and things on beaches, but we didn't see any elephants. And they have tigers. One of the times in Manas, we stopped off at a little village to get down to the river, and the guides were chatting to the villagers, and I could see something was going on, but they were speaking in Bhutanese. It's not actually the name of the language, but anyway, they were speaking away in the local language. And afterwards they told me a tiger took 6 cattle from this village last night. So that's what they were talking about, and the villagers were all packing up and get ready to go and retrieve what they could from the carcasses of the cattle at the time.
Wow.
Now apparently, again, the government looks after the people very well, so that they'll be both compensated and the cattle replaced if a tiger takes your cattle.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But they have, it's a very good place for tiger habitat. And again, they look after them well and respect them, and they've 4 or 5 other big cats that live there, including snow leopards and all sorts. Now, unfortunately, we didn't see any big cats or anything, but they're there.
They're there.
We're close by them.
Yeah, you saw enough.
Yeah.
God,
absolutely.
Well, absolutely. It's amazing. Look, to be honest with you, and I could really go on talking way more about Bhutan itself, and we've only touched a bit on the fishing. But look, definitely, when we're on again, we'll talk a bit more. So, but I'd just like to say, look, amazing. Thanks for coming on and talking to us about it. But before we let you go, Jake, and we ask everybody on the show, and you're not getting away from it. So, what is your most memorable fish on the fly?
So my most memorable fish on a fly, I think, was one of my earlier fly fishing trips, perhaps my first fly fishing trip, when we were in Cuba, and we were mainly fishing for bonefish. But I can't actually remember were we specifically targeting barracuda at the time, or did we come across a barracuda. And like we were talking about earlier, the ability to see them is not easy for a beginner. We were up on a boat, and the guide had said, "Oh, barracuda," and I happened to see it, and I cast in. And at this stage, I had much less experience fly fishing than I did now, so I cast in, which was always a challenge on that trip, and I managed to cast it to where I wanted to cast, and I start stripping, and I can see the barracuda following the fly, and I'm like, delighted with myself. And the guide says to me, "Lift up." And I said, "What do you mean lift up? You can see it's following." He said, "Lift up and recast." And I went, "Okay." So I lift up, and I managed to recast directly in front of him again, and as soon as the fly hit the water, he smacked it. Fought him for a few minutes and managed to bring him in. So that was my most memorable, I think. Probably mainly because it was certainly one of the first times that I actually saw the fish, cast to it correctly, saw it following, and then just the shock of being told to take the fly from in front of the fish's nose and lift it up into the air again, and managing to do that correctly and catching, landing the fish. So that's my most memory. Yeah, it wasn't massive. It was a decent 8 pound or something barracuda.
Class. Was it your first one?
I think it was my first barracuda.
They're pretty vicious looking, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and you want to be careful. Well, I didn't get too near it when they were taking the hook out and that.
That's what guides are for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's class. Did he fight well?
He did. Yeah, he fought well. That was a bone fishing trip. I caught bonefish on the trip before then, and they were great fish to catch. And so that'll be the one, I think.
That's class.
I'd love to say it was the 40-pound gold Mahseer I caught, but we'll go back to Bhutan another time.
Maybe next time. But listen, Jake, it's been really great having you on. I'd like to thank you for joining us and let us know that. It's been fascinating.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Okay, thanks very much, Tom.